the next thing is like, what are the different types of content and processes that are being engaged? So we talked about this: catalog, glossary, report, data flow, reference data, policy questions, or other kind of issues. So, types of things they're doing when they're searching and discovering and referencing. They're saying like, does this exist? Is it documented? Is it curated or just inventoried? Is there like the completeness of the information? What that means is like from a report standpoint, maybe is what we really talk about with this is like, you've got documented the existence of a report and what it's called but the curation part of it is, are the things that are on that report linked up to your glossary terms that you all agree on? Is, do you have any kind of clarity on whether or not this is a trusted or valued report, and who owns it and all that kind of curated information? So there are two levels of things that people might be looking for. And then from the perspective of the person doing this searching, does that answer your questions? Is the information up to date? Is it accurate? Is it complete? Do I know who the steward owner is? So these are the things that people will be kind of asking themselves as they're looking at the various content. And then if not, then they might submit a request. And that request, depending on what they were doing, could be, hey, I need a new report or a new ETL process. I was searching for a report and I couldn't find it, and I need to request one. Or I found a report, but it's not exactly what I want. I want to request a change to it. Or I did find a report. It was documented, but it was only just like shallow inventory information. I really need it curated. I need some explanation on what this works, how it's calculated. I just don't understand it. I need more information from a curation standpoint. Or maybe I want to understand how to get access to it or request access to it. Or maybe there's a definition that I'm looking at, a glossary term that I need a new one. Can I find that glossary term? If not, I want to request a new one, or I want to maybe request a change to the one that's there. Maybe I've got a quality rule I want to create. Or report a data quality issue, or look at an existing quality rule and make a modification to it. Maybe I'm looking to see if if we've got documented the list of valid values, or what are status codes. I'm looking for our employee status values and what they mean and what we agree on and how they map between systems. And if you can find it, great. If not, I might request it, or I may want to add a reference data value. I may be looking to see about the existence of a data system, which data systems are out there for certain types of functionality. And if I find it, I want to get access to it. Or maybe I know about that data system, but I want to understand how to get access to it. Maybe there's a report out there that I want to get a run of, or I want to request someone run that report and give me something. Or maybe there's a report that exists and I say, hey, we need to do a review of this because I think the standards have changed this year. So, I need to request kind of a review of a report, or whatever. So there's all sorts of issues. So the challenge here is, when we talk about points of engagement, there isn't sort of one do it this way, because all of these different types of questions may have different points of entry, or ways to access it. But the main key here is, when you're thinking about these concepts, to think about how do you make it as simple as possible and as obvious as possible for people who are trying to do these things, to search and reference and then request this stuff, to incorporate this activity into what they're doing right now, or the way that they work day to day, right? And so we'll come to the main question here. Does that mean like knowing about and going into the data cookbook and taking that action in the data cookbook, or if you've got some other tool doing that? Or does that mean pushing out to where they are right now, like in a reporting tool or in your website or in your ticketing system or whatever, sort of a place to search or a form to submit or information there that pulls them into the cookbook or pushes the content from the cookbook out to where they're working so that they can engage as quickly as possible. And if you get your data consumers and requesters engaged in the cookbook, generating requests, that is going to dramatically drive your engagement of your subject matter experts and your stewards who are needing to process this request. And it is going to have them creating more content because they're getting requests coming in to them from a customer rather than some hypothetical list of definitions or reports they need to curate. But also it is going to dramatically improve their employee satisfaction in those activities because they know that what they're doing is responding to an actual issue and an actual question within your organization. And in reality, maybe many of those people are already doing this type of thing right now without a tool like the cookbook, but very informally, where people are picking up the phone or they're calling them or they're emailing them and asking these questions. And the difference between that and what you might be doing now in a cookbook, if you're doing it, is that if people are just calling up or asking informal questions outside of a process, you're not capturing that information for the future, right? So now we're just saying, hey, we're going to kind of take this request process that maybe is happening informally and directly, and we're going to make it slightly more formal through the cookbook. And because of that, the responses and the information and the knowledge about your data that's generated from those requests will get captured in the system moving forward. That's the most critical point. How do you insert into your current processes or new processes the capture of this knowledge so that it both accelerates and helps with the searching, that people don't have to, have 3 different people ask the same question and get, 3 different answers from scratch each time. Only the first time you do that, but also reduces the time of the expert to say, hey, A, they're only focusing their energy on the things that people are asking about, and B, if they're already answering that question, it's just a marginal additional effort for them to get it put into the knowledge base each time. Right. So who are these different types of people? We've kind of gone through this. We talked about this in the steward thing, all the different types of folks that can engage. And I put this up here just so you can think about the roles and how they're dealing with your data, and therefore where is the best way and what is the best way for them to engage in this content. And even within those roles, you've got sort of different levels of like expertise and access. So you might have casual or infrequent users of this of data or this content, or very active users. You may have internal people within your organization or external people in the organization. There's different ways you might interact with them. You might have people who are very data governance informed. They understand the concept of glossary and catalogs and all that kind of stuff. Or you might have people who don't even know what that means at all, right? Again, data consumers, people who are requesting and accessing data, and then your creators or the experts themselves, the way that they're going to deal with this. Authors and curators, so people who are writing definitions and curating information, which also sort of in this data creators maybe. And then approvers, maybe people they're just going to be oversight and review. You've got users who are stewards or experts or data system owners or whatever, who are bought in and believe in the concepts here, say like, hey, I understand the value of getting this stuff documented, and I understand the value of good data governance. And those are going to be relatively easy, but you probably also have within your organization people who are not bought into that, and they, their maybe immediate reaction is like, why are you giving me more documentation effort to do, or why should I do it? So thinking about how to simplify things for both of these people, but understanding how to break through the barriers of those people who don't have buy-in. You're going to have new people come in your organization who are untrained in your tool, and then experienced users who are. So this is a really good thing to think about, and it's hard to sometimes put yourself, think too really far ahead here. But if you get a tool like the Data Cookbook and you implement it, and you do this like big marketing campaign and training across your whole organization saying, we have this new knowledge base repository for information around your data. Here's how you access it. This is how you get to it, and train people on how to get to this solution, and then, but don't like embed or create links in what they're doing right now that will drive them there. If it's just they have to remember about this tool and all that, many of those people, they're not going to have a data question for maybe 6 months or 12 months, and are they going to be like, what was that thing? The data what book? The what? The what who book? And they're not going to remember how to find it. And plus, you're going to have new people. So if you're relying on training and reminders to go use this other tool, then it's not going to be helpful. So, it's like with a help desk system, you might have something like right on your website or on their employee handbook or in something else. It's like, here is where the help desk is, or maybe there's even a shortcut on your phone or something to get to it. These are things that you want to think about how to engage here. You also have functional users and technical users. You have to think about how that, you don't want to have like the only way that people engage is come and look at something that's just overwhelming to them technically if they are purely functional. And vice versa, you don't have people to come in who are technical users and can't seem to find the the thing. I always say that you want people to find their home in the catalog that's their sort of their knowledge. So if you're a technical person, they're going to want to be able to access and get into things where it's like they're looking at the tables and columns. If they're a functional user, maybe they have a different points of entry. And then from a governance standpoint, you might have different roles on whether you're an active steward or just someone who's like an oversight role. So these are the types of things you want to think about in terms of engagement. And then I know it like doesn't seem really helpful to say right now, like here's a bunch of things you have to think about, but it is important that there's going to be some kind of universal tricks to make this work. But it is as you start building up more and more types of ways that you want to have people access this content to solve more and more problems in your organization, you do want to consider, are we setting this up for success with people who are either bought in or not bought in, or they're internal or external.